That's good.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I apologize for the technical difficulties. You all know computers, so we never know what we're going to get. So I am so pleased to bring to you Quanda Francis, who is running for mayor of New York. And this is exciting because she has a story. Um, Mother of three, first in her family to complete college. So Quanda, talk a little bit about yourself, then we'll get into the topics. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm native New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I lived in Virginia for about 5 years. I'm married with three children. I graduated from NYU undergrad, LIU with the master MBA, and I'm currently pursuing a PhD in information studies.
Okay, so this is a big step. What made you decide to run for the mayor of New York City? I mean, that's humongous.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the leader that New York City needs at this time. We have our infrastructure is falling apart. Just everything is going wrong. So we need to get back to the basics of electing smarter individuals to run the government, agile thinkers. And, I come with a wealth of experience and everything that I've seen, like there's just a leadership deficit. And I feel as if I cannot sit back and allow another generation to go uneducated and just being released into a sort of situation where they don't have adequate outcomes. Like we're just robbing them of their futures. So I had to do something, and running for mayor was that thing I had to do.
Well, you know what? I admire you because a lot of people just sit around and complain about situations, but they don't they're not willing to put in the work or do anything about it. So you're taking a very bold step. I applaud you, Queen. I told you this. Told you this before, for being fearless and doing that. So, what are some of the issues that you want to address if you are the person that becomes the mayor of New York? And actually, you're running as an independent, right?
Yes. I
Okay.
created my own political party,
All
the
right. Okay.
Empowerment Party.
All right. So, what are some of the issues that you want to address?
Top issues are reducing the homeless population, improving educational outcomes for all New York City students, ensuring that New York City becomes the most advanced digital city in the world. I'm the candidate of the future, right? So I'm looking to bring New York City into the 21st century and modernize everything that has anything to do with New York City and every apparatus and that is connected to our city as well.
Okay, that's one of the issues. As you know, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia all just got hit by that major storm.
Yes.
I mean, that's a big project. If you were mayor, how would you deal with that? That's huge.
Well, you have to prepare for these things. You have to be in the know. And with this particular situation with the storms, I was just shocked at the lack of preparedness. It's like our the subway system should have been shut down. All of our roadways should have been closed to only emergency personnel. It's anyone that was in an area that was prone to flooding or was affected by the hurricane we had just a couple of days ago. We should have planned better, and that just did not happen. And why is it not happening? Because they're not utilizing data to inform decision making. You can't blame these situations on someone else when you have the tools in your toolbox to utilize. But again, if you only appoint people that look at data and don't utilize it for decision making, then we have what we have at this juncture, and which is a leadership deficit, individuals losing their lives as a result of just poor planning and execution. I mean, I hear Amir talk about, we have data. Okay, data is useless if it can't be utilized to sort of create information that that allows you to then sort of look at that information and ensure it becomes knowledge, and then utilize it again for sound decision making. I just, again, we just need better leadership at this juncture, and we can't continue down this path. It's only going to get worse.
So when you pick your cabinet, what are some of the things you absolutely have to have? Because I don't really see how you could have planned for this, because most of the people in New Jersey and New York, a lot of them were not even near any water.
So that's the thing. We could have planned, right? So for New York City, for instance, we know the sewage system, we know all of these, we have all of this information in terms of, how much rain is too much before X, Y, and Z area floods. See, my background in emergency management, and then coupled with being a data scientist and a researcher, I look at information differently. The data that I put together would be different from the average professional. So we could have done a lot. The New Jersey governor activated, they requested a declaration prior to the event so they could properly prepare. If we were in Virginia and there was a coastal area, yeah, a lot of governors would have said, you know what, we're going to turn 64. We're going to one way. We need you guys out of this area. We need you to evacuate. There's so many different things that could have been done that were not. And as a result, people have lost their lives. And that's not okay. So there's just so many different things that could have been done. But there's nothing that can be done if you appoint your friends instead of appointing actual professionals that know what they're doing. They've been trained for this. And they're the ones that should be in leadership roles, not, the individuals we have now.
Yeah, so still a lot of people that are unemployed as a result of the pandemic. But everywhere I go, I see job openings. And if you go out to eat, and I know you've experienced it, they're short staffed because nobody's coming to work. How would you address that? Because I don't really think, for me, I don't really believe that the majority of the people just said, okay, I'm going to sit home and collect unemployment. The pandemic is real, and people are scared to go to work because they know they're going to have to be around other people. The media would like to paint it as, or people that I talk to, oh, they're just lazy. They don't want to go back to work. They want to sit home and collect unemployment. I don't believe that is the case for the majority. How would you deal with that issue?
Again, you have to figure out the unique barriers that individuals have. Is it childcare? Is it more advantageous for them to sit home and collect unemployment benefits? And when we say sit home, I don't mean just sit and do nothing, right? Because again, some people have unique barriers that in going to work, whether it's transportation, how do they get to and from a job and then come home, and they may live in multi-generational households. There are so many different things that we have to consider because there is a pandemic. But again, we have leadership that they're not utilizing information to utilizing data to derive information. It's like they don't know. They're just speculating as to why people are decided to not return to these very, very low wage positions. And a lot of people, so have we looked at the fact that the attendance at some colleges have increased, right? Are we in a situation where these individuals have started to upskill and now they're going into different professions? They don't know because they're not asking the right questions. And I don't expect them to ask the right questions because they're not agile thinkers. It's just easy to say they're lazy because that's a talking point. But that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And what about, would you support, to me, the jobs that, I believe, I don't know if it was Amazon or Google, one of the companies said they're going to continue to work from home. I think that's a good idea myself. And I think it's been proven that people actually do their jobs, because they before, I think they kind of thought they were going to slack off at home, they were going to not really be working, but I think production has gone up and not down. Um, would you um, would you actually support the companies that were going to home based working?
I would, but I am about empowering the people, right? I'm about empowering people to create a future for themselves, to create generational wealth. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we are going to need to look at individuals and give them an opportunity to retrain, retool for a 21st century economy? Or just, again, allow them to be someone else's employee and live paycheck to paycheck? What the pandemic has exposed the fact that living from paycheck to paycheck is not advantageous, because when you're living from paycheck to paycheck and then you're hit with the pandemic, you have to buy masks, you have to buy all of these additional things that you did not have to buy prior to that, but your income and your wages have not increased. So we have to think about all of that. The accountant in me is this is it's a basic debits and credits, basic balance sheet issue for some folks, but the companies don't want to look at it like that, because again, their bottom line is affected by not being able to capitalize more on and make more on each employees, on the backs of their employees. So I'm willing to support organizations and companies that understand that you need to invest in your employees, you need to invest in the small businesses around you, and ensure that your business operations are not displacing a different industry. Because, like the Amazons of the world, that's what's happening. So they'll have you focus on employees, but meanwhile they're displacing industries. And it's like, what happens to those employees of those industries? What happens to those individuals when their industries cease to exist? They have to support themselves. So we have to look at every company has a responsibility to ensure that they are investing in the workforce, that they are working with the government, and we are doing things as a partnership. Because when we're partners, that is when New York City wins. That is when everybody that's connected to our economy wins. But right now, no, the billionaires are winning, but everyone else is being left behind.
Yeah, so let's talk about the small businesses. Small businesses have really been hurt by the pandemic, mostly because the people are not supporting. They're not like the restaurant. We know that the restaurant industry is really suffering, and a lot of them are minorities, Black and brown people that have had to close their businesses. And even if they are fortunate enough to reopen, the supplies are astronomical. I mean, it's like a domino effect, because they have to pay more to get the stuff. The supplier has gone up on their. I mean, it's just like a snowball. How do we address that?
We have to look at the data. Every industry is going to be different. Every small business owner is going to be different, because their balance sheets are different. So we have to, whether we're going to look at this from industry perspective or whether we're going to look at it from the size of the business. For me as mayor, again, I would need to sort of pull, be partners with small businesses and ask them, like, what do you need? How do you feel, the government and the private sector can best support you? It starts with asking them. Again, I feel like we must ask the right questions. We don't need to speculate. Folks are ready to come to the table with ideas. But again, we have individuals in place and their political appointees that don't want to hear that. They're taking money from super PACs. So they're only focused on the businesses. And I'm pro-business, right? I believe that a healthier economy is one where everyone is benefiting from it and everyone is able to contribute. And whether that is equally, but at minimum, everyone should be able to contribute and everyone should be able to benefit from it. So we have to bring all of our stakeholders to the table, all of them, not some that have created a super PAC and are able to influence policies that benefit their business environment from a corporate level, but the small businesses are sort of, hung to just dry or cease to exist. We have to change the way we look at things.
Well, I know that you've been preparing, and I know you've been out there meeting people and talking to people. What are some of the bread and butter issues that you hear people are most concerned with?
People are most concerned with affordable housing. Parents like me are concerned with education. I've talked about introducing artificial intelligence and machine learning into the K through 12 curriculum because I feel it's important to identify learning styles so we can improve outcomes. I don't like the one size fit all. There are a lot of brilliant children and we need different measures to identify their brilliance. Testing is one, but not every brilliant child is going to have their brilliance identified through a standardized test. So these are all of my son is a student with a disability. His needs are not being met at all. So, and considering that he comes from, one of the better New York City public schools, one of the better principals that have done a great job of planning. And it's just been very difficult because she has not gotten the support that she needed from the chancellor, from the mayor in terms of clear messaging that allows her, or just information that allows her to make sound decisions. If it changes or if it's just, it's difficult. And so what happens is students, including ones with disabilities, they are the ones that sort of are just sort of left behind in this whole space because their needs are not being met. Because everything is about general education, and outside of that, everyone else is just sort of left to just figure it out. And parents are left to just figure it out. And for me, for my background, I won't say it's easy for me to figure it out, but I have the tools. But what about the other parents that don't? And that's my concern. It's not a level playing field. Based on your socioeconomic class, education is not a level playing field. We've had the same areas in New York City that have had the same poor schools, recreational deserts, educational deserts, everything that you can think of. And they're responsible for the majority of the prison population. So we can't look back and say that that's not all correlated, right? We need to start investing in community. So top issues, again, are education, affordable housing, employment, job training. Those are your top hot button issues. Crime is a big issue. Everyone is concerned. Like I used to ride the subway. I don't ride the subway anymore.
Well, yeah. So the subway to me is going to be a breeding ground for COVID. I mean, I've been on the subway once in my life. I'm from New Jersey, but I mean, you don't know who's been vaccinated. You don't know who's carrying what. That's a whole nother show, really. I wouldn't want to be on the subway, a bus, or public transportation if I didn't have any. Not in this climate, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So that's a whole. I mean, this is going to be a major assignment, and then not to mention the teachers. As far as I can see it, most teachers are not getting paid what they're worth, and a lot of teachers are not really giving their all because they're not getting paid what they're worth.
I mean, I won't say that. I just want to feel like anyone that has decided to go into the teaching profession has done so because they care about the next generation of minds. They truly want to help children be educated to their fullest potential. I'm going to be positive about that. What I will say is, again, we need to do a better job of identifying learning styles. Each child learns differently. We need to do a better job of giving teachers the tools that they need. You look at school systems in Japan, Estonia, Finland, they have done an amazing job with educating their students. And every year, the United States continues to fall behind. And at this juncture, what we must understand, it is irresponsible to leave so many of our citizens in New York City, so many of our residents, uneducated to their fullest potential. The United States will not remain a superpower if we allow so many people to go uneducated. And then we look at how easily influenced they are in terms of disinformation and misinformation, but they're not educated to their fullest potential. So what is it that you expect? So we have to have these honest conversations, and we need candidates of the future. This is a new day. What's happening to our infrastructure, what's happening at this very moment, it is time for the future. If we are going to, again, remain this amazing city that we are, if the United States is going to remain this superpower, it is time that they start grooming the next generation of leaders now. And if they're not willing to do that, then the next generation of leaders need to start pushing into these spaces, because my future, my children's future is being impacted by the lack of decisions that are being made from at the federal level down to the state level. And we can't allow this. Look at what's going on in Texas. We can't allow this. If y'all can't figure out how to get things done, not y'all, but just in general, if the individuals that are in government right now cannot figure out a way to move us into the 21st century, it is time to go. It's time for a change. And we can't wait. Change can't wait. The toddler that died could have had a chance if people had the courage to stand up and say, this is not right. And we need people in the government that know what they're doing and that are going to ensure that our residents, our residents in our cities, our citizens in our country are safe from all harms. And when you just focus on the military and not focus on the fact that every flood deteriorates your infrastructure, our bridges, what do you think is going to happen to after this particular flood? The infrastructure is going to be even worse condition. Are they out there with these teams of engineers determining the damage, the long-term effects of that? No. They probably don't even have real engineers. They have their friends. So we can't continue down this road. It's just not working.
Well, on the education piece, I can say I don't necessarily agree with you. I know that Black and brown kids are being pushed through the school system, and they come out and a lot of them can't even read. I know this from several educators that I know that are in the field. They just push them through and they come out. They're not equipped for college.
But that's why we have to identify learning outcomes. We need to, identify learning styles. If you identify a student's learning style, then you can customize educational content. And then they can do these things that we need them to do in terms of reading at grade level. Well, and what is grade level at this point, right? Because the expectations for education are not those that are going to allow individuals to take advantage of a 21st century economy. I've talked about ensuring that students are introduced to coding by second grade, because artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to disrupt every industry. So at this juncture, what is grade level? And in terms of what is going to be expected from a workforce in 20 years? What's going to be expected from my 9-year-old son in 10 years? We're not having those conversations. And we have to start having those conversations. So pushing them through is not what I focus on, because I know they have the ability. But if the content is not customized for them. It's like looking at a fish and saying, I don't think that you are as quick as you could be because I'm measuring your ability. I'm measuring your ability to move on land, opposed to looking at how well you perform in the water, which is your element. And we're not creating these environments for our children to succeed. And I would say, even if one gets to college and is able to perform at grade level, does that mean that they're ensured a job in 10 years in the 21st century economy? No.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done by all, and I believe that it goes back to even the universities. BWE just partnered with Hartwell University, which I'm very pleased that will mentor the teachers all through their time there, and they're going to be doing it with biblical principles, which is what I really like. But it's not like they're just giving you a degree. They are preparing you to be great teachers, not just have it for a profession. To me, that means more. So how can anyone donate or find you, or if they want to support? We have a lot of friends in New York,
Yes.
Jersey,
So
all over.
you don't need to just be in New York. You can support me anywhere in the country. www.quandafrancis.com. You can go to the website, hit that donate button, and you can, support my candidacy. What we're looking to do here, we hope that this sort of catches on, throughout the country in terms of introducing artificial intelligence and machine learning into the K through 12 curriculum. There are a number of foreign governments that are already following our platform because they understand that this can be revolutionary, and we can do it in this city. But change is on the ballot. Our futures are on the ballot. The future of your children are on the ballot. And we cannot sit this one out. One man, one vote. That's our mission, to get into City Hall and build a New York City that works for everyone. So again, you can donate at www.quandafrancis.com or www.madammayor.com. Both links work, or just Google me and my link will also come up as well. But you don't need to live in New York City. I've received donations from all around the country, and I appreciate you for supporting us because this is our moment.
Great. And that's Francis, Francis.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I had to say that because I spelled the CS. And just in case,
it's always a pleasure.
Quanda is she's a member of BWE, Black Women Empowered Net, where we network with the Queen Sisters come together. She is a member. I still encourage all of you who are not part, you need to join. It's going across the stream. Sisterhood is power, very powerful, and we are stronger together.
Yes.
We need you. We need you to join. Yes. It is blackwomenempowered.net. Quanda, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm sure that we'll be back. We thank everybody that listened to the broadcast on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. Please share the broadcast so we can reach as many people as possible. And again, as always, you know that I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. Until the next time, God bless.
Take care.
Hold on.